We're diving into a story that is so strange it really defies any simple explanation. It takes place in a tiny, isolated village where a certain house seems to completely blur the line between a building and the living thing, a place just wrapped in a mystery of measurement. Okay, let's just get right to the heart of it, because this is wild. By day, you've got what looks like a simple 12-meter house. But after the sun goes down, it somehow measures 15 meters. And we're not talking about some kind of optical illusion here. We're talking about a real physical measurement. So the question is, how is that even possible? So our story starts in a really remote village, one that's pushed right up against the edge of a dense, dark forest. And it's here that this local legend started to grow, all centered on one house. A house with a truly chilling name that the locals gave it, the Breathing House. I mean, just think about that name for a second. They didn't call it the Haunted House or the Strange House. No, they called it the Breathing House. And that name tells you everything you need to know. That slow expansion at dusk and the contraction at dawn, it felt organic to them. You know, like the rhythmic breathing of some giant sleeping creature. And this isn't some New Age legend. To find out where it all began, we have to go back, way back, over 150 years, to the stories from the very first family who lived inside those walls and actually wrote down the bizarre things they were experiencing. Can you even imagine living in a space you can't trust? The family talked about these subtle but deeply unsettling changes. A hallway that felt totally cramped during the day would suddenly feel vast and wide after dark. A door you had to duck under in the morning would seem to have grown taller by the evening. It was completely disorienting, reality-bending, and honestly, it was only the beginning. And it wasn't just visual stuff. The neighbors started reporting things they could hear but couldn't explain. Faint whispers, the sounds of footsteps, but not coming from the rooms. They said it sounded like it was coming from inside the very walls of the house. It was as if the walls themselves were holding some kind of secret, unseen life. But for a long, long time, that's all this was. You know, weird feelings, strange sounds, a bit of neighborly gossip. This is the part of the story where everything transforms. This is where the legend gets put to the test, and it moves from being just folklore to something that could be measured, something like cold, hard, undeniable proof. And this is where our story gets its first real protagonist. A local guy from the village, probably tired of all the rumors and the spooky stories, decided he was going to settle this once and for all. He armed himself with nothing more than a simple ruler and a piece of string, and he went out there to get an objective measurement. And this was the moment everything changed. His measurement during the day was exactly 12 meters. But when he went back after sunset, his simple tools told him an impossible story. The house was now 15 meters long. It had physically grown by 3 whole meters. The legend, as it turns out, was real. So now, with undeniable proof on the table, this house was no longer just some local ghost story. The legend became a full-blown investigation. It started attracting genuine scientific and even paranormal inquiry from way beyond the village borders. You can imagine what happened next. What started as local fear just intensified. The story spread like wildfire, and pretty soon you had researchers, scientists, and just the plain curious all showing up. The house became a destination, with everybody hoping they'd be the one to finally solve the riddle of the house that grew in the night. With so many different people looking into this, 2 very different theories started to take shape. Each side was trying to explain this impossible thing from a completely different point of view, basically splitting the mystery right in 2. Okay, so on one hand, you had the scientific approach. Some people were proposing that the house was built on some kind of unique geological spot, like a pocket of strange energy, or maybe even a temporal anomaly that was literally warping the space it was sitting in. Then, on the other hand, you had the supernatural theory, which suggested something way more deliberate, that the original family performed ancient rituals, giving the very wood and stone of the house a kind of life force. But here's the really frustrating part. Despite all the attention, all the conflicting theories, and the countless investigations, the house held on to its secret. Its true nature is still a complete and total mystery, even to this day. The simple truth is, nobody could ever explain it. No single theory seemed to fit all the facts. And so, the house just remains there, all alone at the edge of the woods, continuing its silent, nightly ritual of expanding and then contracting. But wait, the story doesn't quite end there. There's one last piece of this puzzle, A final, truly chilling piece of testimony from someone who might have gotten a little too close to the answer.
These were the last words ever written in a diary that was found near the property. The author was never seen again. It just said, "I entered the house at night, but I couldn't get out of it during the day." The implication there is just terrifying. The expanded house let him in, but the shrunken house, well, it wouldn't let him back out.
And that brings us to our final, lingering question. If 3 meters of physical space can just appear at night, where does it go in the morning? What happens to that volume when the house contracts? And more importantly, what happens to anyone or anything that gets caught inside?